Very
Good
good.
deal, Larry.
Meeting order. Pledge allegiance.
I will answer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Verification, right? The meeting law?
Yep, we'll see that at the door and on the website.
Okay, very good. Roll call.
Oh, we got Carl feed, just. Kaczynski,
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Schaefer, Kraus,
Yes.
White,
Here.
and Toll.
Yeah, yes. Okay, changes, corrections.
None for me.
Okay. And approval of minutes, regular board of trustees on May 12th. Your Chromebook,
Move to approve. Second.
moved and second to approve the previous minutes, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Any public comment?
Just 1 second. Yeah.
That's what I'm.
Tom wasn't here at the last meeting, so
Oh,
I
okay.
can't approve. Okay, thanks.
No public comment. So we'll move on to announcements.
The only one I have is Fire and Ambulance Commission or Service meeting. But it is the commission meeting on July 10th. That's a couple days before or a week before our next meeting, so. Jeremy, Al, Larry.
Public works report.
Okay, so we got wastewater. We treated 8.6 million gallons of waste. Trevor and Mike attended the Crane Engineering Trade Show down in Milwaukee. Myself and Will, we attended the WRWA hands-on training seminar. We got the North Disc Aerator Drive back up and running. Crawler camo was repaired. We did one of our 2 remedial wet tests that we have to do, and that one passed. And then we started installing aluminum diamond plate over the grading up in the headworks. John left early today. He had some family issues he had to attend to, so he's pretty light. He had replaced 17 meters and then repair a curb stop over by cold storage. Public Works assisted Jason with mowing operations. Received the new flail mower and tried it out. They said it works great. They did some weed control around the village. Replaced the curb at the water main breakout over on Haslow and Highway C. They buttoned up the install on the swing at the Lions Park, and then they placed a 1/2 ton of cold patch throughout the village.
Any questions or anything?
What happened to the camera?
The camera, the hard drive actually went out on it. The hard drive and then one of the power it's went out, they said. I think it was around $800 to get it replaced.
Particular reason?
They didn't give me any particular reason, but
It's like a little 4-wheel drive toy.
6-wheel drive.
6-wheel?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is, right?
So did they get the swing set finished at the park?
They have to adjust it just a little bit, put some extra safety chains on it. And then the Jenny swing next to the platform swing needs to be lowered. Will's gonna get some longer chains.
And the blacktop was that?
When American is in later this week to do the patching, there's put the ramp in.
On to police chief's report.
All right, in the month of May, I attended the village board meeting. Officer Schmidt recertified on the intoximeter. Myself and Officer Bauer were certified on the calibration of PBT units. During the month of May, officers handled 205 calls for service, issued 18 citations, and 3 written warnings. In the month of May, officers handled 21 nuisance property complaints. So I'd like to remind property owners to keep your lawn mowed on a regular basis. This will help keep the neighborhood to look clean and well maintained. Keeping your lawn enhances the appearance of our community and helps maintain the value of your property. Per village ordinance, grass cannot exceed 8 inches in height. And the police department received equipment from a grant provided by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. Equipment included a PPT device and equipment needed to calibrate the department's devices. The total amount of the grant award was $1,000. And finally, for vehicle maintenance, we replaced the tires on the Ford F-150.
Any questions for Sean? Thank you, sir. Citizens' comments, I have nothing at this time. Under new business, item A, excuse me, discussion of possible action on a request by Jordan Martin for the use of village property behind his house at 610 South Park Street.
The last board meeting, the board had approved, sale of that property to Jordan. After talking with him, he is, not in a place where he can afford to purchase that property right now. Although it would still be his desire, to do it in the future, but he's thinking at least a couple of years out. Currently, he has a shed located on the village side of the property line. It's been there since he's lived there. So he was basically asking for permission to keep using that property in the way that he's been using it. He's maintained it as long as he's lived there, and as well as behind his house and to the south in the right of way for the street there. But he didn't want to do any more maintenance to the property, cutting trees down or bringing in fill if the village didn't want him to. So he had asked for the board's permission to keep using the property. And he has his daughter every second Monday of the month. Is one of the days that he has his daughter. So he wasn't able to make it to the meeting tonight, but could make it at a different meeting if you guys did want to talk to him in person.
I don't think that's necessary.
He wants to maintain them trees, let him go ahead.
Yeah, he would like to,
I mean, if something has to be taken down or cleaned
he
up.
wants to do a little trimming along that fence line, that old fence line to the east.
Do we need to take official action on that?
He actually would like it.
Okay,
He would like to be able to point to some meeting minutes that said he's got permission to use that.
okay. Then I would ask for a motion to approve this request.
Second.
Then moved and seconded to allow Jordan Martin to use the village property behind his house. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item B, discussion of possible action on the request by Patrick Long to improve the alley behind his house at 302 West Clark Street.
So another resident requests to use some village property. This alley is not improved. It's all grass except for the west end here where it is gravel. But he would like to be able to basically park his camper back here. And the way that his driveway is configured, he can't get his camper back there. So he was asking for permission to basically put in a driveway at his cost. He'd cut out the sod, put in the gravel, and then take care of it. So that he could park his trailer back here, or his camper back here.
Is he right behind Jacobitz there?
No, that's behind Huber.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay, I got you.
I don't know who lives in that corner house anymore. It was Nightline's house at one time.
yeah, this was Dick's house here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did we contact the neighbors or?
I wasn't going to contact the neighbors unless the board, was inclined to grant him the request. I don't ruffle anybody's feathers over there. If the board is fine to do it with neighbor permission, that's great. If the neighbors, don't want him to, I guess that's up to you guys.
That entire alleyway is all mowed. Everybody mows it.
Yeah,
Somebody mows it somehow.
yeah,
It's all grass.
yep. I know, you had just said his name that lives here. Huber, yeah, he's been actually mowing all of the alleyway back here for a long time. course, he takes care of his lawn, to a pretty high standard. And he was actually mowing the neighbor's part of the alley back here because they weren't mowing on the south side of the fence initially when we bought that house.
Hey, Chris, is that curb cut out there?
It is.
Yes.
I don't know if it'll confuse people thinking that's an open alley if people were to drive through there. Maybe some type of signage indicating that you can't go through. I don't know. Maybe that'd be a possibility, or maybe
We
I'm,
could, on the other side, it is open and it's gravel, but,
Why can't he use it now?
Cause it's.
because it's sod, he doesn't wanna mud it up and have, everybody mad at him.
Yeah, as long as his neighbors are okay with it, I wouldn't see an issue.
Well, we told him we wouldn't be plowing snow down the alley
No.
and he'd have to improve it at his cost.
Yeah, as long as the other three neighbors that abut that,
As soon as you put gravel in there, somebody's gonna go right down at it. So then you gotta put a buckboard at the end or something.
Well, where the end of his driveway is, shouldn't, where the star is there, shouldn't there be a barricade there?
That's what I mean.
right there should be something.
Yeah,
barricade.
because
Put something
otherwise,
barricade up.
right
If the
down.
neighbors wanted to improve it at their cost, would you let them go the entire length? Because then we're gonna end up with an alley that could be driven by anybody.
Yeah, but he's gonna park his whole premise, he wants to park his camper back there.
Yeah.
So he's gonna block it. I mean, you're not gonna be able to go through there because his camper's gonna be in the way.
Well, his camper's gonna be on his property,
No,
isn't it?
it's gonna be on the X, isn't it?
No, he wants to leave.
No,
it.
he'll probably have it, yeah, he'll probably have it on the alleyway.
From what I understand, he wants to leave it in the alley.
Yeah.
Unless he is planning on putting it in the X, but.
No, I just put the X there to indicate that was the lot question.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know, I consider putting a go through alley or something there.
We could put, we could ask him to put a sign up that says private drive.
Just no through it, no through.
Or no throughway.
Throughway. Just put a,
Or we could
put a
put
K
the
rail
sign
back
up
there,
that's-
drop a K rail back there, so. Makes it abundantly clear you can't put through there, or a Chicago barrier.
Oh, here, sure.
Big chunk of concrete,
Jersey barrier.
Jersey barrier. Chicago's have different.
I think a sign and a couple poles. Alice.
Yeah, just a sign that says no throughway in
And if
the.
you turn into, you see the bolts, they're not going anywhere.
Well, I said you're gonna see the giant chunk of concrete, you're not gonna figure you can't get through there. Just gonna be cheaper. Use a giant chunk of concrete.
I don't run into that one.
Yeah, as long as the neighbors are okay.
And I know how Tom is, Hubert,
He mows the alley on behind his property.
As long as the neighbors are okay with it.
if, long as, yeah, I would think that three that are kind of around there, around him should be aware.
Sure. Can word a motion like that.
Entertain a motion then?
I'll make that motion.
Moved. I'll second it.
So we'll say, with the budding neighbor.
With the
approval.
budding neighbor's permission.
You,
All in favor of that motion, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item C, discussion and possible action on the 2024 financial audit presented by Hawkins Dash.
You wanna unmute, Joe?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
All right, great.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me tonight. And thanks for letting me join via Zoom. I appreciate that. So my name is Joe Haas with Hawkins Ash CPAs. I'm here to talk to you tonight about your audit for the year ended December 31st, 2024. So the last calendar year we're talking about here. So I've got a few things. I've got a quick outline and then some graphs to go over. And this quick presentation here is one, tell you why you have an audit and what an audit is. I think that's important that everybody kind of understands what the process is and why you're going through it. And 2, we'll talk about some results of the audit and then go over a couple of pieces of financial statement information that's important. Okay, so first thing, why does the village need an audit? You might think that there's a state statute out there, and for some municipalities there is. For smaller villages, the state statute doesn't actually require you to have an audit. So you might ask, well, why do we have one? Well, there are users of your financial information. That would be the bank if you're borrowing money. That would be the citizens of the community. Or if you're out there selling bonds, those bond underwriters want to know what your financial information is. And you could give it to them, but they don't know they can rely on that. So they want an audit. And that means you have an independent third party come in, look at your books and some other things. At the end of it, issue an opinion that says, yes, these financial records are correct, and anybody that's reading them can rely on them. So although there's no necessarily state statute that says you have to have it, really in order to borrow money or anything like that, you need an audit. So that's why you have one. So what an audit is, there's 3 steps to it. The first step is planning. We do that back in our office, and we'll contact Chris. We talked to him throughout the year, but towards the start of the audit process, we'll ask if there's any changes or anything for the year, and we'll use that in our planning process. And then we actually come there for 2 or 3 days. So there's usually 2 or 3 of us there for a few days. Typically in February, we come out there. And that's when we do the bulk of our procedures. So we actually look through documents. We look at invoices, payroll records, receipts, talk to employees, gain all the information we need to issue our opinion. So that's the bulk of our work. Then we go back to our office and we wrap everything up. We produce the financial statements, a few other things that you get. We do the annual PSC report, which is the report that the Public Service Commission requires everyone with a water utility submit. So it's the water financial information for the year. That's due May 1st, so that's been filed. We also file something called a Form C, or the Department of Revenue's annual financial report. That is all of the financial information of the village in one report that the Department of Revenue gets. So you don't actually submit your financial statements to them. They have this special form that they want you to fill out. That's due May 15th, so we've submitted that. And then the final report is a TIF report. So you have TIF districts. Those are the Department of Revenue wants their short reports to fill out that information. Those are due July 1st. And then you obviously get the audited financial statements, which is the thick document that you've received that has all of the financial information for the village in one spot with a bunch of footnotes. So that's kind of a quick explanation of why you get an audit and what you get at the end of it. A few audit results here before we jump into a couple of graphs. So we take the numbers that we get and we look through all the information and we make adjustments to them. We call them journal entries. They're really adjustments to get the numbers into a format that's compliant with accounting standards. And so we made 36 entries this year, which is up a little bit, mostly related to capital assets, recording pension, accounting, taxes, and debt. And for a municipality your size, it's actually not an atypical clients we do audits for. And then in addition to looking at the numbers, we look at internal controls. So we will pick a few transactions and walk that transaction through the process of approval and reconciliation and all that good stuff. And at the end of it, we issue internal control findings if we find them. So the village has 3 findings. And again, this is pretty typical for a municipality your size. We have a finding for preparation of financial statements. The accounting standards say everyone should be able to produce this financial statement. It's not very common that someone or a municipality, especially of your size, has the capability to produce that. You pay us to do it, but the standards say you should be able to do it, so we issue that finding. The second one is segregation of duties. That means that basically comes down to the number of people you have in your office that can separate different parts of each transaction. So we have somebody that opens the mail, we have somebody that reviews invoices, we have somebody that enters invoices, somebody who reconciles the bank statement. Sometimes it's just not practical unless you have, we do that segregation of duties finding. And then the last one is material audit adjustments. So I talked about those 36 entries we made. We say that that's internal control issue. So those three findings are pretty common for a municipality your size. And then I've got 4 or 5 graphs here that I just want to talk about quick. So we'll go over some numbers. The first one, and hopefully you can see it there, is titled Graph 1, General Fund Balance. So your fund balance is basically the equity of the general fund. So you've got a couple different types of funds. You have the water and sewer, which sustain themselves. We'll talk about them later. They're supported by user fees. The general fund and the other governmental funds like debt service, capital projects, those are typically supported by tax revenue. And so when you take your assets minus your liabilities, you end up with equity. And this is your general fund's equity at the end of 2024 and the 3 previous years. So the blue bar is the total general fund equity. Excuse me. So at the end of 2024, it was just under 500,000. But the red bar is the unassigned general fund equity. So that equity, the $500,000, is broken into certain categories. You actually have a pretty large advance to the TIF districts, like $1.3 million the general fund has lent to the TIF districts over the years. So while you do have that big receivable out there, you can't spend it because it's tied up in the TIF districts. So it makes your unassigned fund balance decrease. And at the end of 2024, it's almost $1 million negative. But the real reason for that is the TIF districts advance. And you can see over the last 4 years that that deficit in unassigned fund balance has grown. So something to be aware of, that the TIF district lending internally is what's causing that deficit. Okay, the next graph is your general fund revenue for the year. And this is really just to kind of show you where the money is coming from that the general fund is spending in one calendar year. This one is a little bit unique because you borrowed some money, $1.6 million for the, I believe it was Park Street project. So that is that big orange section at the top, right? 45% of the revenue came. And when we go to the next graph, you'll see that there's a big expense that corresponds to that. Your next largest chunk is 26% of intergovernmental revenue. That's your state shared revenue, transportation aid, all the things that come from the state. Then your taxes and special assessments are the next largest at 16%. And then it gets pretty smaller at charges for services. Miscellaneous is interest, other things like that. Licenses and permits are at 1%. So just a nice breakdown of where the general fund is getting its revenue from. Next graph is your general fund expenditures for 2024. Again, this is kind of a unique year in that you had that street project. So your capital outlay, which is your capital expenses, was a huge chunk of it. So you borrowed for that and you spent it. 59% of it was in capital outlay this year. Then, as it's typical with a lot of municipalities, your public safety and public works are your next largest chunks of expenses, followed by your general government and your culture and rec, which is park and recs, library, things like that. Okay, so that was the general fund. The next 3 graphs are going to be the water and sewer. So again, what we just talked about was general fund. That's supported with tax revenue. Water and sewer, you have user fees, bills go out, and the customers pay for it, and those user fees support the fund. So this first graph is your operating revenue in water and sewer for the last 4 years. Water is blue, and the wastewater or sewer, those are interchangeable, is kind of the reddish color there. So you can see it's gone up. In 2023 and 2024, your revenue went up. And there was a rate increase in water in September of 2023. So part of 2023 had the increased rates, all of 2024 had the higher rates. And so you can see how that made an impact on your revenue in 23 and 24. In the blue columns. Similar in the wastewater and the sewer, I believe there was a rate increase in 2024. So you can see that increase in revenue for wastewater. Okay, then the next graph, that was revenue. The next graph is going to be expenses for the same thing, water and sewer, for the last 4 years. The thing that I just want to note here, there was a little bit of a blip in 2023 for wastewater. there can be one-time maintenance expenses that you don't foresee that can kind of shoot these up from time to time. But if that hadn't been there, the trend for the last 4 years for both water and sewer would be that expenses would increase. So the point here I just want to make is that we got the rates increased a little bit for water and sewer in that previous graph. You can saw the revenue go up. The expenses will likely always continue to go up when you look at it on a 4-year cycle. So you have to keep in mind that we got our rates increased 1 year, but it can quickly start to deteriorate where those expenses catch up to the revenue. And then the last graph is just the combination of those revenues and expenses. So revenue less expenses equals operating income. And graph 6 there, the last graph I'm going to talk about, you can see the operating income for water and the operating loss or income for sewer. The sewer is trending negative. It was a loss. The rate increase helped it get into the positive a little bit. And then you can see the water rates in 2023 and 24 also helped to get to the operating income for that fund. So that's all I wanted to cover tonight, just to give you an idea of why we're doing an audit and what it's for, the results, and then just a few pieces of financial information that you can take back. You've also should have got a financial statement. That's a very long document. It's probably about 60 pages long. It's very detailed. If you ever have any questions about that or this presentation, I'd be happy to try to answer them now or in the future.
Does anyone have any questions? Yes, that's it, Joe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Item B, discussion and possible action on the 2024 CMAR and resolution 2025-4, 2024 compliance maintenance annual report.
Maybe you can just give us a summary, maybe the highlights of the CMAR for 2024.
Yeah, I mean, it's really no different than any of the previous years. We got all A's on everything again. Despite having a couple violations, we had a missed sample, which resulted in a violation, and then we had a daily ammonia result that resulted in the violation. Neither one of those cost us any points on the CMAR, which is nice. We didn't have any wet test failures because we didn't do any wet testing last year. We'll have that on this year's. And then I guess the only other thing that I want to know is when it comes to jetting and televising, we didn't hit our goal last year on the televising. We got 23% of the system cleaned. Our goal is 20%. We only got 5% televised last year. And that a lot of that is due to our sewer camera going down halfway through televising, and then we were never able to catch up with everything. So manhole inspections through the system. We did 2 segments of root removal. We don't really have that many pounds. Yeah, I guess that's kind of it. Do you have anything else you'd like to throw on?
As far as those goals, even the DNR would recommend 10% of the system be done each year for televising or cleaning. So I mean, our cleaning goal is well above the minimum DNR recommendation. And a 5% last year compared to 15 or 20% years past still doesn't get us behind very much as far as the televising is concerned. So we're still well above what they would recommend as a
Report.
It is, like you're used to hearing me say in years past, it's a self-assessment tool. So we grade ourselves based on the DNR's categories. It's primarily used as a communication tool. So the wastewater operators have a chance to come and talk to boards about what's going on in the wastewater system. Not very many boards are is available to wastewater operators as Spencer is. And when it comes to communication for stuff like that. So this is a tool that DNR designed to make sure that that happens at least once a year, where an operator will get a chance to talk about what's going on as far as system. The resolution that goes with this report then is the same as it was last year, similar to what it's been in years past. It's basically just saying that we are going to continue to do the things that we have been doing, which resulted in the good grades that we got.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve that resolution. Second. Move second to approve the resolution 2025-4. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? That motion is carried. Item E. Discussion and possible action on a request from the Wilderness Builder for a building deadline extension for lot 35 in Governor subdivision.
Lot 35 in Grepner subdivision is right behind Wayne Hagan's home, at the corner of, well, this lot is at the corner of Pearl Street and Bell. Wilderness is a company that normally does work up north. Their bread and butter is like resort homes on lakes up north. They build $3, $4, $5 million homes up there. They had looked at this site in Spencer because Spencer is close to one of their subcontractors, I believe lives in like Marathon City. And they were interested in a job that would get them close to home for a job. But now Wilderness has become so busy this year that they're not going to be able to get this house done here in Spencer. Ideally, they would like an extension to build next year. They still want to build the home here in Spencer. And to their credit, they came to me, they called me a few weeks ago and said, hey, I know our agreement says that we're supposed to build by the end of the year, but we're not going to make it. So they are asking for an extension for next year. So
I just putting up a spec home.
yeah. They said that they would be, they would do whatever the board wanted them to do. They were hopeful that they wouldn't get penalized the cost of the utilities. That's what the developers agreement says. They were open to getting an extension to next year. They were open to selling it back to the village if we wanted to. They had thought that perhaps Wayne might like a bigger backyard and they'd sell
Well,
it to
that's what I wanna do is review here a little bit. Now, the guy that built or bought next to Wayne to the west.
Yep.
Bought the other lot to the north.
Yep.
And he's doing nothing with it, right?
Right.
Or we.
Harrison Capital.
Whatever, we give them permission to buy it, which was out of content of what we had previously, I thought, along. And that's what kept Wayne from not buying that back lot. Because we said, or the board said, or the old board, or what, said that we could only sell that and put a home on. So Wayne wasn't gonna build a second house. So that's why he didn't approach us to buy the lot behind him. But now, then we went ahead and approved the other guy to have a second lot. Well, I think we stepped on our toes here.
I think if I could go back in time, I would.
I mean, I'm part of that decision and I'm wrong.
Yeah, I know why we did it, or at least in theory, it was at a time when the Grepner subdivision wasn't moving like it is now. And so, this was the first house after Wayne's that was gonna go in. And, they agreed, they
We did not make the right decision. Let's just stop the discussion.
Sure.
We made the wrong decision. So let's sure as hell not do it again.
Yeah, I would like to see a house go up on that lot. Like I said, Wilderness still wants to build a house on that lot. They're just looking for an extension.
Yeah, I don't want the lot back.
No,
I want the
I don't
house.
wanna buy it back.
I don't want it
no,
back, absolutely not.
But.
Well,
And you still
Good
guarantee,
for one is good for
if
not
they,
the
if
other.
we give them the extension and say, you got set a date, but if, if you go past that, you gotta pay the taxes and everything, like the other property owners did.
So that would be my recommendation, similar to what we did for Harrison Capital. If you could extend it out another year with the understanding that no matter if they build next year or not,
So it's,
in 2026, we will collect the equivalent of whatever they would have been assessed in 2025 for that lot. Now, we don't have a design, we don't have a plan like we did for Sweat, like I said, Harrison Capital previously on that Sweat Lake. So Wilderness has suggested that we use that $170,000 that's in the current agreement. They have agreed to build a house with at least $170,000
just,
assessed value.
yeah. You assess them at the minimal,
Right. Yeah.
minimal build, our requirement for lot. Our
Right.
requirement for house.
Because that's all we were technically requiring. in the
And if you
agreement.
build a bigger unit.
If they,
So even better.
right, which probably will happen. Almost assuredly.
Yeah, as long as we word it, so no matter, no matter what.
I don't think we should get in the habit of doing that. No, we should, because then the next builder comes up. And they wanna do something, but it's like, oh no, we got too busy because we're building richer homes in a different unit.
Mhm.
So the hell with Spencer, they can wait.
Can we say they have to be started by like July or something?
Well, they wouldn't want to put a foundation in it. They wouldn't be able to put something on. Yeah, they don't want to break ground at all this year.
that will be,
Oh, we didn't buy Swiderski's back, so. I think we should buy that either.
I just wanted to get the tax revenue on it.
I understand that, Tom, and so do I, but. I'm just making a scene here that we don't do this again,
Oh, I get that.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And don't set precedents of everybody that comes in here, well, Spencer's easy, they will just. Make believe we're gonna build this year, no, let's
Well,
stretch it out.
they still got the responsibility for the taxes,
Of
so.
course they are, but it's like. They don't do it to anybody else. Gotcha.
And there is always the big stick in the agreement that if they don't build by a date certain, they're responsible for the cost of the utilities that service that lot. And that would be between $15,000 and $20,000 probably. And that's what they would like to not have to pay.
Of course. I mean,
So I mean,
they've
village,
been in business, they know what they're doing, but we just got played by Swiderski so bad that I just see it again coming. And then next year, it'll be another excuse. We
Well,
better
it's
put some
something to get
teeth in
the
it
pain-
this year.
Yeah, give 'em, as long as there's. When did they buy it?
last year, 2020. Spring.
We gave them a year.
We gave them to the end.
And in their agreement says if you don't build, you still gotta pay the taxes.
Not the taxes, the
Water and sewer improvement.
the utility.
Totally.
The reason that the lot,
Well, if they're really serious about doing it next year, they're gonna have to have an expense anyway, so I don't see holding their feet over the fire collecting that for a profit.
collect the utility expenses.
Mhm.
That's a pretty big stick.
Well,
So,
but no, seriously, Eric.
yeah. I guess my recommendation would
Just a
be
suggestion.
similar to Swiderski's where we get them to agree to pay the tax base or the tax assessment that they would pay if they had built the house. And that would get them that extra year.
Yeah.
And we still have the utilities reimbursement clause in the next agreement too.
Right.
So if they don't build in this next year,
They're gonna get sucked.
instead of saying, we want an extension again, you can say, fine, well, no, at this point, we're just going to charge you for this utility.
I guess as long as we're not letting investors buy a piece of property for the investment value of just the land.
Land speculation.
Yes,
Right.
that's what always hurts you, because it could sit there for years and
No, we're not gonna.
And I don't think that was their intention. That's not what they were trying to do.
This house should be first on their list next year then, right?
It should.
Yeah, I don't care, go. Just put some teeth in it. They do.
that will put some teeth into it. I move we do that, Chris.
Motion made that we the request from Wilderness Builders for a deadline extension. Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Alright,
Opposed? Motion carried.
Just let me read this. Approve an extension for 1 year through December of 2026. What's the word?
Understanding.
The understanding that they will be assessed 2025 taxes payable in 2026 based on assessed value of 170,000.
And the utilities.
that's what you mean.
Oh,
Yeah.
Next year.
I would say not the utilities this year.
Next year.
Next year.
Yeah.
Next year.
If they
Next year
don't,
be taxes and utilities.
right. Well, okay.
next year it would just be utility. They would only pay that assessed value. $30,000 if they didn't build. Or I mean, since they're not building this year, if they don't build next year, we lose the tax revenue and that's why we're assessing the utility costs. And then they would have basically paid for all the improvements for that lot. They spent $15,000 on the lot. They're gonna be assessed $15,000 to $20,000 for the improvements on that lot, and basically the village would be whole on what we invested in that.
Okay,
we get our money out of that.
So then we would get our money out of that particular lot.
we would keep our TIF district, trying to keep our TIF
yeah.
district.
Right.
Dollars flow.
Which would make no sense for them, so they might as well build.
Exactly, right.
I don't.
Well, you're right, Pat, you're right.
Some companies got big money.
Ready to move on?
Yep, ready to move.
Okay. Item F, discussion and possible award of the well house number 3 demolition project.
We got 6 bids on the demolition project. Normal, the middle 4 were within a relatively close range, $29,000 to $41,000. We did have a couple outliers. On the high side, $63,000. On the low side, $11,999 and 50 cents.
That's your profit.
PGA go up.
That was my question.
Yeah, they have enough work this year that they figured they could raise a little bit.
So this Midwest is from,
They're from
Monroe?
Monroe, yep. They normally do work down in the Madison area. Anderson, which was the highest,
yeah, it's the border.
is they're from
Cheddar.
Milwaukee, so Yeah, and then the local people in the middle there. I guess I really don't remember where PGA is from. I did call Andy at Midwest Grinding and Excavating and talked to him. I wanted to clarify that he understood what the specifications were. We verified that he had an asbestos subcontractor picked out who was familiar with the permitting process with the DNR. And he had all his ducks in a row there. He had a couple of references. I called one today. I could not get a hold of the other one. Their voicemail wasn't. So I couldn't leave voicemail. But the one that I did call was a farm site that they had demoed a barn and a silo. And I talked to the owner of that, and they were very happy with the work that was done. That was a much more expensive project, about $50,000.
But they're coming all the way up here. They're not gonna subcontract the source.
No, they are, except for the asbestos work, because they don't have a contractor, or they don't have an employee that's certified for asbestos. No, they plan to come up here and get it done in a couple of days. They figure they can
Knock it out.
they can swing in.
Yeah, yeah.
They're gonna haul everything off site. Contract with whatever field material they need to replace it, and basically be done with their route.
Obviously, their
I'm
workload wasn't
happy.
that heavy.
I move we approve Midwest Grinding and Excavating.
Second.
Okay, we don't need a roll call on that one. Yes.
Ralphie,
Yes.
Kaminsky,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Bayford,
Yes.
Crouch,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
So far.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item G. Discussion and possible action to change the design of the shooting range to make the archery range a pistol range.
I don't imagine that we're going to take any action on this, but I did want to report back that I talked to our DNR rep that is managing our grant. And she said, she talked to her bosses. They were fine with us going back and changing that design, but it would be another 9 to 12 month process to get it approved.
You're gonna be hired by the time you get that.
Through Fish and Wildlife Service. She said that it wouldn't necessarily delay the start date, but she did want to caution us that it would have to go to public comment again, 2 rounds of public comment. And while it's likely that it would be approved, there's always the tiniest little chance that it wouldn't.
Can you do this? after?
25, Jeremy.
I thought they want these ranges so bad.
Just build the damn thing the way it is and we'll
Right.
figure it out later.
He said that's perfectly fine. We can change the biggest thing that
It's a sign.
sign.
You can do archery and pistol.
Yeah, right. And she had said we can,
Forget that.
after we build it as designed, if we want
Yeah,
to
just get it done.
modify.
Build it as designed and I'll work with volunteers after the fact.
So we don't need action.
No,
We're not making fun of you. It's just the system.
That's the,
And
Did you start this process?
All the stuff we went
when
through.
did they start this process? 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, item H. Discussion possible approval of bid document.
Bidding documents. Yep, you're good. Not bidding documents.
the bid document, the ones that we're gonna submit. The ad is here. I did not copy the bid documents and put them in the packet. If you want to read them, I have a copy of them here. They're exactly the same as the bid documents that were used, 2022, with the exception of pulling out the concrete and the carpentry work as alternates. So the DNR was fine with us pulling those 2 pieces of work out as alternates, so that if we don't like the prices, there's the potential for us to use volunteer work or
Volunteer, we just pay it for our
donations.
own.
or just do it.
We can do it on our own and just pay, use the grant to pay for the concrete,
Absolutely.
our own sweat equity.
Yeah. So that, those are relatively easy items to pull out because they were just very small portions of the work. So I'll just look for a motion.
Okay, motion to, what is this?
I'll make a motion to approve the bid documents for the shooting range project.
Second. Is that a second, Bill?
Yeah.
And second by Bill, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item I. Discussion of possible action on a fermented malt beverage and intoxicating liquor license application for Quick Trip.
So move.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Application for a combination Class B beer and a Class B liquor license for Nuts Deep True North, My Brother's Place, and Gorst Events.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Discussion and possible action on applications for operator's license for all those people. We didn't do it last year.
All the people.
I'm assuming that everybody's okay.
The whole,
Recommend they be approved.
the whole town.
Okay,
Whole town.
we'll make it easy, so move.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Even Ollie, Sean?
Yeah, they're all good.
I apologize, I missed the motion second.
I made it.
He motioned.
That's why I moved it, so it's easy.
Harry second.
I remember from last year, we didn't read the list off.
No, we didn't.
You guys gave me the go ahead on that one. Do we approve it? All in favor, say aye.
We did.
We did, okay, we're covered. Item K, discussion and possible action on cigarette, tobacco, and electronic vaping device retail license applications for Dollar General and Quick Trip.
So move.
And just for clarity, Dollar General did not check the box to say they were doing the vape. Quick Trip did this year. But
I don't think they have.
I haven't seen any.
I haven't seen any. I just thought the state
Kind of
added
lumps them together.
that last year. And Quick Trip did not choose that last year either. This year they did.
For a second,
Now, it's
Okay.
motion, I'll second
all in favor of the motion, say aye.
it.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item L. Discussion of possible action on mobile home park license application for 52 properties on Haswell Street and Willow Grove on Willow Drive.
Yeah, okay, what are we doing with Hasbro?
They've done actually a bit of work. I don't know how Sean feels with the upkeep over there as far as some of the.
There's always room for improvement over there. Right now they have a new maintenance guy that seems to be pretty good to work with. I want to give him a shot at fixing a few things around there.
Yeah, they have a new maintenance guy. They also have a new account rep or service area rep that has been very responsive. From the office side, we had a couple issues with residents having water service breaks and needing to find somebody that could get over here right away. And she was very responsive. Understood Park had been here before, knew what it looked like, knew which trailer I was talking about, and was very.
And in speaking with that maintenance guy, they plan to demo one or two of those trailers over there. So
Oh, I see some.
Which one?
Yeah, which one? I see some new ones. They're but sitting there, nothing
Yeah.
happening.
Well,
They haven't set them.
no.
They don't owe us any money, do they? I mean, no fines out, outstanding or anything?
John, do you see
What are we gonna do?
some improvement?
Don't.
Or you just said there's room for improvement, but are you seeing
What are we
some?
gonna do?
it's better than what it has been in the past, but it still needs work.
Okay,
So, boy,
Yeah, but, well, you probably shouldn't say that. So,
After that.
yeah,
any other concern?
Yes, as long as we get that they're gonna try to do better, I mean, you can go, I drove back past there today and there's. Some of those lots look like a hayfield. I mean, they gotta at least knock that down a little bit. I mean, there are lots that are unimproved and the ones that are. You know, that have footings poured, they are gonna be having trailer on there, but. Still can't have a hayfield back there, that's just, you know, especially where it's sitting and,
we'll follow up with them tomorrow.
yeah, cause it's just it's. Where that's, we're just gonna attract mice and. being where it is,
those people that are living there, who wants to live next to that crap?
right?
People like them.
Yeah. Yeah, I
As long as
guess,
Sean
yeah, I
follows
guess we're
up.
good. See what happens in
I'll
this
make a
next
motion.
year.
Yeah, motion's been made by Phil to approve this action,
Second.
second by Bill. All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Discussion and possible action on junk and salvage yard license application for First Choice Recycling.
So move.
Second.
Double
Now we
motion.
really screwed them up.
All in favor, say aye. Motion carried. Discussion and possible action on a temporary class 2 beer license for Backyard Pullers event at 107 West Speeder Street on July 26, 2025.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
At the shop.
Item O.
Fun.
Discussion possible action on temporary operator's license for Will Garton and Joel Dietschy for the Backyard Pullers event on July 26, 2025.
Strong check, oh, well.
He did. He approved both.
And move
Move on.
second, and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item P, discussion and possible action on Tri-City Contractors change order number 1 for the 2024 Pine Street and Hemlock Street lift station upgrades for a total decrease of $24,117.40.
They put all of these change orders together on one because the project really didn't last that long. It included the $22,000 deduction that we got from not using flight pumps, but using the KSB pumps instead. So that's their, the two things that they had to change was the force main cost us a little bit more because they had to go in a slightly different direction with a slightly longer force main to connect the dots at that station. And then they also had to put a larger precast cover over the wet so that they could get clearance for the rails, I think, or for the cover to line up with the pumps down at the bottom. That one wasn't very expensive at $500. And then they also underspent the allowances that they got for hooking up the electric and gas utilities by a pretty significant amount of money. So we save $15,000 on those two line items. So the net for all of that is a total cost decrease of $24,117.40.
We don't need a motion.
No, we should approve the change
Yeah,
order.
okay.
Yep, so that, I mean, the work has already been done, but
Okay.
as part of the documents, we should approve the change.
Okay,
Motion to approve.
okay, motion second to approve this. Change order. Number 1, all in favor, say aye. Oh,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah. Opposed? Motion carried.
We're not spending money.
Q,
The next one we are.
Next one we are.
The two next two.
discussion and possible action for Ellis Stone Construction pay application number 4 for the well number 7 wastewater water treatment plant number 2 project for $269,375.30.
So if you'll notice, Q has pay application number 4, line and R has Q as pay application number 6. Last month, we approved pay application number 5. When we sent them that check, they're like, well, what about number 4?
No, about his.
And that was my mistake. I had gotten the email from Greg with that pay application and forgot about it. So now we got to play catch up. So that's why we're approving 4 currently.
Second, been moved and seconded, roll call on this.
Peralfy,
Yes.
Jazinski.
Yes.
Owens. Schaefer.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Tofa.
Yes. And now discussion possible action on Ellis Stone Construction pay application number 6 for the well number 7 water treatment plant number 2 project for $255,729.27.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second.
it. Roll call.
Brophy,
Yes.
Jazinski.
Yeah.
Folds.
Yeah.
Schaefer.
Yep.
Kraus.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Topa.
Yes.
And we only got 3,612,013,000.
So.
Yeah,
That's all.
and the bulk of this work here is basically the masonry work.
You can start putting a roof on that thing.
Yeah, I don't, not yet, but they gotta get.
Framed up quite a while.
And that brings us to number 13, discussion and act on the approval of current vouchers.
Overall courts, the pipe for the nuts or what? Greenthal.
Yeah, that's a new manufacturer that we just got or a new vendor that we just got
I was
signed
gonna
up.
say Freenthal's been around forever.
Yeah, for whatever reason, Terry shops around.
They make good stuff.
Give him a lot of credit. So he got some equipment or some supplies from them recently and
They make good stuff. Yeah, that's why, well, their gauge of pipe was heavier than Fleet or
I had a
Menards.
couple loads of Chicago years ago.
oh, okay.
And they actually were less money. Yes, he told me gave me all.
Yeah, he's willing to go through every line.
So he obviously looked at every
They're a
dollar.
good company.
Yeah. And I wouldn't question any of that.
We did make some headway on phones, Jeremy, this month. We switched over to the VoIP phones here in the office and at the police department. We still haven't quite pulled the trigger on the police's internet yet.
Yeah, they emailed me last week, said they were gonna be Friday. Haven't seen them. Try contact tomorrow and see what's going on.
Sure.
It should be all set. I passed it in. And it was my mistake, I guess. I never tried to set up two different services on one of those devices. Apparently when you do that, you gotta reboot. Second I rebooted it clicked right off.
It did.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Well, now I know.
And it's been working well for us.
I don't think so.
Get that thing on hardware connection.
It'll be on my list.
Your router,
Yeah.
your little wireless router.
Yeah, I'm assuming that was us and not.
Taking a second.
Thinking that was your router.
And we also did the phones on the public works side. So I called up Frontier and knocked off.
VoIP phones?
Pardon?
All the VoIP phones you're talking?
No, for public works, for the shop, for the wastewater plant, for the water plant. We were paying
A fortune.
over $500
Yeah, a fortune.
a month for those services. We went down to one line at the wastewater plant. And we got the price for each line at about $100. So we went
Still
a little over $500 to $100.
better and still way high.
That was literally the best they could give me for a business line. It was, we took off every feature. We still had an 800 number that we didn't even know we had.
Did you know we had an 800 number for the PD?
Yes.
You didn't?
Didn't know we had
Yeah, I went direct to Dan Coney.
800 will call Sean.
Oh, it was going to us now.
why would you need a
It
Dan
was
Coney
going to
number?
our PD.
911.
It
we
was
called
a
it.
dedicated line from Intoxilizer to Mass.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Well,
Gotcha.
it wasn't that expensive. It was only like $7.
Well,
a
it's
month.
better. At least it's coming down.
Yeah.
We're getting paying on some of these crazy expenses that. And it's not us, it's every community has the same, they had this bill that just.
Yeah.
Gets paid every month and no one investigates why. No one's looked at it in 60 years, paying the same phone service.
we get our signs from Rent-A-Flash in Wisconsin. They sell road signs like a gather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They make the signs there a lot of times for us. So that's where it's cheaper.
Marathon City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Something is, we really don't have ATV, UTV speed limit signs like on LaSalle coming in. I mean, they're getting, I'd like to see something there because I don't expect them to do 15 miles an hour, but I'd be happy if they were doing 25 miles an hour.
Should draw on the regular.
Yeah, I don't remember how many of this was.
Or there should be one posted.
There should be one, right?
Get to the village of.
Yeah, I thought there was one there.
Okay, yeah, but down by the 25 speed zone, that's way else down the corner, essentially.
I thought when we originally set that route up, there was supposed to be a posting when you entered each part of the village, so. Not saying we couldn't use another one, I mean,
Yeah, I think what Tom's saying is it's down by Old Plain.
oh, it's down.
It's way down there. That's
So-
officially 25 mile an hour.
You know, and in all reality, there's probably, in some of our high traffic areas, we use a few signs.
I would say, they're getting a little,
I take for
Sure.
example, for some reason, well, Haslow Street is used quite a bit by the ATVs, and I think one could be used over there. And another one that's gonna really be busy is gonna be Robert Street by the new addition coming off of Fairhaven. I think with all the kids playing over there, I think we should heavily sign it.
little light,
Absolutely.
flashing light, just something to catch their attention. You're still gonna have the ones that are gonna not listen to it, but,
Right.
if it's there, I think the majority of them
The
will.
Robert Street cutoff's gonna keep them off.
Or you just wanna put no ATV traffic on Robert Street because of the kids, I don't know.
Nah, I don't think I'll do that.
Roberts is really the only way they can get from Fairhaven to town. Cause
How are they doing it now?
We dealt with that years.
they're not allowed on the 45-mile-an-hour portion.
You can't go,
Right.
you're not supposed to be. on it.
For our-
So how are they getting off Fairhaven now?
I'm taking 98.
Everyone,
I'll tell you.
everyone does, there's before Roberts was there was no other way to do it.
I guess it's that, but yeah, definitely sign it, and
Yeah, I'll get with Public Works, and I think then we'll order.
That's what this line item is for, some extra
Exercise.
signage.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just gotta be, and it's always, wanted,
You're always gonna have them. but
That's
they're-
always making things
you
different.
know,
I only speed past Al's. Doing everything. I'm
2 times a year.
of the opinion that all signage, it's cheap. Cheap protection. More signs, the better.
Put those speed bumps out in front of your home.
There you go.
they're all good with that.
Yeah.
I had a nice one there for a while, and then they're gonna pave that over, make it nice and smooth,
Really, that testing for 1,800. Testings.
Wastewater side.
Each time or for?
I don't expect them to-
There's that other test.
Moving on, anybody
That's part of it.
questions on the water treatment?
It's, yeah,
Alex-
the
Alex
cost is $1,800 and then we pay $1,000 to ship it up there.
Gee, Bill, there's a side gig for you.
We have talked about driving it, one of our employees driving it up there, but
I'm driving up for
Where does it go
$1,000.
to?
you have to do it 3 times. There and back 3 times. No, it's $600 a time.
Say 3 times, that's not so bad.
Up
You
to
know,
where?
I mean, I get it.
Superior.
Superior.
That's
true.
Take a little vacation up there.
6 hours, 6 hours.
We talked about it.
Run, jump on the bike and go.
ATV.
Nice ride.
It has to be, the reason it's so expensive, it has to be same day or next day. And there's only a couple
If
companies. that can
it was
guarantee
per
that.
trip, I'd say, yeah, we could do that, but it's 3 trips. All right, cause it's a fair amount of hours and.
Yeah, it's
Fuel.
$385 per trip is what it
I was
costs.
telling him, you go halfway up there.
I used to,
Oh, you don't.
That's right.
9 more.
Give up.
I can get it as far as Rice Lake.
Any other comments or questions? Nope, no motion.
Taking a motion to approve the vouchers as printed.
Second. Moving second to approve the vouchers as printed. Roll call.
Ralphie,
Yes.
Jazinski, Hose, Schaefer,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Topar.
Yes. And that brings us to Mr. Chris, clerk's report.
We have a few building permits, not a lot this month, mostly for sheds. Windows and siding on LaSalle Street, where our own permit is on there for the band stage sign and plaque that we're gonna be getting. Deb wanted me to remind people that additional help for Spencerama Days would be greatly appreciated. I think we've got bartenders and ticket booth operators sorted now, thanks to a few people that signed up tonight. Just a reminder that Mary, who usually does a lot of the grounds maintenance and bathroom maintenance, is not gonna be here this weekend. So if anybody is available to help out with grounds maintenance, picking up garbage in the morning, for keeping an eye on the bathrooms throughout the day, that would be emptying garbage cans, that sort of thing. That would be great.
Yeah, we have somebody's UTV here for hauling shit or something, that'd be, garbage.
I usually help with that. Yeah,
Yeah, Wayne Fromey would always get the Boy Scouts and.
I'll be around
No Boy
the
Scouts.
whole weekend, so I can always use mine, cause between working at the bar and working at the ice cream, I'll be around.
I'll be here.
Usually is.
There is one thing that we didn't get is the potential to use a UTV for liquor sales on the, or beer sales on the on the pull, the tractor pulls
Oh.
and the car shows. So last year, for the first time, Pat actually
Yeah, he went around.
Mateer, he actually used his UTV and sold beer on that side of the park, where a lot of times people didn't walk over to the beer tent because they were busy doing the tractor pull.
pulls.
Yeah.
But Pat's out of town this weekend.
Yeah, so we can use mine for whatever we need to use it
Yeah,
for.
if you're open to that, that would be great.
I'm gonna be basically here the whole stinking weekend. So
Sure.
Fill up my wagon.
Friday, I'll be here at
Yeah,
3:30. I still need that key.
Kids get drink.
sure.
Still
Pardon?
need that key for the shelter. Friday, I'll be opening it at 3:30 and I'll be back here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon
Can take it at a
to
time.
get noodles going for the spaghetti feed.
Sure, sure.
And then I'll get bartend Friday night and Saturday night. And I
Yeah,
didn't sign up for Sunday yet, but I guarantee I'll be on there anyway.
yeah, we can get you into it.
That's
Blacktopping
what it works.
and the various asphalt patches that we got going around the village should be done this week, weather permitting, by American Asphalt. Brush and compost pickup will probably be delayed next week. Normally pickup would be on Monday, but because Public Works crew is gonna be helping pick up after Spencerama, we did put out a post on Facebook and on our website saying that if they don't get to it by Monday, don't worry, we'll get to it as soon as we can. I have a few referrals to the street committee for that committee to consider. Dave Butler, 104, 106 East LaSalle Street.
Where's East LaSalle?
That's.
Yeah, where is he?
Well, right around the corner.
He's right around the corner.
The curve where you turn off the 13 on, go south.
It's just that little bit. It's that little bit. Yeah, East Willow. I don't know why I put East LaSalle.
East Row, yeah.
Yeah, he's got the apartments, the two apartments there.
Oh, behind Cobb's.
Right next to Jerry Cobb's.
Okay.
Yep, Sharon Cobb's house. He has an issue with drainage around his buildings
Mm-hmm.
and had floated the idea of a potential for the village and or his neighbors here to help put some tile line around his property. He'd agree to have it put on his property. He'd maintain it. I got an estimate from KNS for $6,000 to install that. So I told him that I would mention it to you guys. We don't have to talk about it now, but it'd be something we could talk about at the street committee.
Is that something that's gonna get tied into the storm sewer?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, I just had someone bring this up to me yesterday. That without any details about who and what. 2 years ago, the city wouldn't even entertain this. Obviously, it's a different board. And what created is there were four.
Past the administrator to the board.
Well, I'm just saying that there was a storm sewer, or there was a place, these 4 backyards were so low, there were no place to go. And the village allowed them to put drain tile on, but it was at his cost.
The village has been hit and miss over the years.
Yes.
In my time here, there have been a few projects that the village has helped cost share when it is to the benefit of more than just a single resident.
Well, that's my real question here is that the hit and miss, what is our policy? I don't know that policy.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't have a written policy. The ordinances are silent on the matter. And we can certainly come up with a policy if we decide to do or not do something.
And that's one of the reasons that I'm so adamant in the Grubner edition about these house heights. The elevations of these new houses, because they keep growing and all it does is create problems for I'm higher.
Right.
The first house or two is so low, all that water drains that way. That's the reason of it.
numerous spots in town that
Oh,
need attention because of the low backyards.
Right.
I mean, so,
There's some
and
else too.
like Chris said, if we can help a group of people out shot, maybe it's worth it.
So it's item by item.
Well, I would definitely advocate for an official policy, for sure.
I don't know what it would be.
Yeah.
Have to look at some things. There's a lot of places.
Yeah, just look at my front yard when they came and put straw over the drain that was there. Just right into that pond.
Another thing for the street committee to look at is the potential for these bump outs. This is intersection down in Marshfield where they've used these bump outs to narrow up the roadway for two purposes, primarily for pedestrian traffic, but then also to make it safer for cars to pull out for visibility purposes.
What building is that there? What street are we looking at?
So this is Advanced Auto Parts right here.
Okay.
This is, East Fifth and Central. Every intersection on South Central is like this downtown by the theater and by Mittens.
Yeah, they have a little.
Yeah.
Well, and it helps them because they're parking there too.
Yeah, here's another example in Wapaka. Everyone's a little bit different, especially with these different designs. Another one in Wisconsin Rapids. So this would be something to consider doing for.
The only thing I would caution about those is it makes it interesting for the snowplows.
Oh, no snowplow operator likes these. We're not gonna win any friends from Public Works from that angle.
It's when you go past there in the winter, and if you go to Marshall in the winter, that is always glare ice and just full of crap because they can never get back there.
Too sharp a turn.
Well, the nice
Back
thing
in.
is that our crew already uses the John Deere tractor or the Pool Cat down here to clear sidewalks. So we already do a pretty good job of clearing snow out of the gutters and along the sidewalks there. So.
I just don't want to have it, put a bump on and have it. First winter's tore up by plowing and we're pouring concrete again and again and again and again.
This is just one of those things that we could potentially look at to help with that intersection after Park Street is closed. The biggest thing that I think it would be helpful for, in addition to the pedestrian crossing, is to prevent semis from turning on a non-truck routed street. So these bump outs could, depending on how they're designed, could make it physically impossible for a truck to make that turn. So that they don't even. Well, we can strategically put a boulder or something on the corner if it made sense, but. But that would be the idea, would be to prevent people from turning onto LaSalle. Or even off of LaSalle, if they accidentally get on LaSalle and they want to turn on a 98, maybe they're forced to go north to 13. And so they have to get back on 13 where we'd rather them be.
They're coming in from.
That brings up the question, if we have the right to do them bump outs, then how come we don't have the right to put stop and go lights there?
No, this would be something that we would propose to DOT, ask for permission for, and also potentially ask for funding to help us do something.
Hey,
Yeah, this is not something that we could do without their permission. Hopefully, we would be able to apply for funding to help us pay for it. I had a third item here to take to the street committee because I figured why not do them all?
You're gonna meet, might as well meet.
This is not the fun. DOT would like to postpone Willow Drive until 20.
No.
They're over, well, so here's the thing, they're overbooked. And they lack sufficient funds to do all the projects that they've scheduled for 2026. So
They're okay.
in return for us volunteering to postpone the project a year, they would apply and for permission to bump our grant from 72% cost share up to an 80% cost share
Sure.
for an increase of $43,000. That's not guaranteed.
Yeah, no guarantee.
Yeah, exactly.
But what is guaranteed
Give it out.
is that if they don't get enough people, enough communities to voluntarily take themselves off the list, then we will be put in a lottery and they will pick names out of a hat. And if that happens, then we won't get anything. So
My question is, why are they short of funds? I mean, again, the little town of Spencer gets crapped on. I'm sure. I'm sure we're not on a high list.
I think that they're reaching out to all the communities that they can to say, hey, if we can get people that will
I
volunteer.
mean, I would.
Volunteer.
I think it's
State that
better off
wants in.
to take that grader and put them teeth down and tear that whole rough section out. Just gravel it and put some seal coat over it for dust control and be done with it for now.
The road is in such atrocious shape.
It's a hell of a lot easier to drive on. What's that?
So is that percentage negotiable?
No, they,
For them guys, you know better.
I just thought I'd ask that question.
We've been at this for 2 years with them. How they're gonna shit on us?
yeah, so I mean.
What
We,
does that do to the engineering fees?
it just puts them on hold. I mean, there's, the road is at 80% right now. I mean, the design is at 80% right now. They're ready to go to bid this fall. And if the DOT gets permission, we would.
So if they don't get enough communities volunteering to take their name off the list and they go into a lottery, what are our chances? What happens then?
I don't know how many are in the pool, so I don't know what our chances are. I just know that,
Would it still be 2027?
If you lose, you'd probably be in 2027 by default.
yeah.
So it doesn't hurt us just to say, screw it and
Yeah, if you guys want to take the chance that we're,
roll the dice and,
Yeah.
because at worst, it's gonna be there and I don't have to listen to it from everybody for another 2 stinking years.
Right.
Why is Willow suck? Why is Willow suck? Oh, I almost fell into Willow. I walked in Willow and I fell up my neck in a hole.
Well, you might as well just redo it. Just
If you want to see how bad Willow is, really,
tear the town
truly,
up.
how really truly it is, jump in that big truck of mine and drive. You're
Yeah.
Again.
I've been in my big truck going on there.
and we don't really have this on the agenda. This is what I would take to the street committee for discussion.
First, don't give it that.
Okay, I think that it's one of Chris's items here, so.
Yep, that's fine.
And I did want to mention that I attended the railroad meeting in Dorchester. The group of municipalities that are all meeting together to try to bring that railroad back to life.
Shit. What?
Yes.
You have to read it all.
They have to do every bridge.
The time, I mean, you're talking.
Ties, the bridge. Yeah.
I believe I sent out emails, but if anyone would like to attend. the
Yeah,
next
you said I
meeting-
couldn't.
Um,
I read that wrong because I thought they wanted to turn it into a rail trail for a while.
They definitely do not want to turn it into a trail system. They want to reestablish it as a functional railroad.
There's no.
Why? There's no business.
More railroad.
So the first meeting I went to was mainly municipalities, just spitball.
No.
This last meeting was, there were a number of business owners there, primarily the loggers, and wood manufacturers, up and around the Medford and 29 corridor. Right now there, and I don't remember the company's name, but there's one particular company that has to haul all of their lumber down to Chicago, to put it on rail down in Chicago. It gets shipped to the East Coast or the West Coast and then gets, floated over to China. It costs them more money to ship it by truck down to Chicago than it does all the rest of the way to China. So they're particularly interested in an option.
Sure.
for rail.
Obviously.
Wages.
I don't remember.
They're floating across their line.
Makes no sense. We have a spur line here in town. I'll say load it here.
Was there any,
And we'll let them load where the old drop off point was for the feed mill?
No, that was posed so that they could use that as the vaccine rate. Yeah, they don't use that anymore for. Well, this is
a feed mill, there's not a feed service, feed mill on that rail.
Sierra Pacific. maybe.
no,
No, there's nothing on there anymore.
you mean on ours?
No,
On
Yeah,
the-
there aren't any.
there's not mills
There
anymore.
weren't any feed mill representations, or there were a lot, Allied Cooperative was there, they would bring fertilizer if they could. Not, not a
They
huge
could.
amount. But,
Just to that one plant.
Yeah, well,
Just in unity.
Yeah, so they're talking of spending how many millions of dollars for two companies.
well,
well, and that's the thing is, they don't want to spend a lot of money to get nowhere. But they do intend to form the cooperative by the end of the year, early next year.
I think they look at dollars, so they can buy.
Makes no sense.
If they're hopeful vision route, they ride back and forth.
So the,
Nothing to look at.
well, a prospective operator of the line was there. He came up from the south, Louisiana or someplace. He was actually born in Wisconsin. He's run 3 or 4 different short lines around the country and identified this as a viable opportunity, even with the maintenance that would happen.
I just don't understand, I don't understand how it's viable, but that's
Yeah, like those tires are shot, you have to replace them.
every one of them.
every one of them, they're junk, yeah.
Every one of them, a lot of that rail's trash too. If you look down the lid, that's
Oh,
twisted.
they're warped.
Yeah. I would, yeah, like I said, I would encourage board member to come to the next meeting potentially and or just realize that it's gonna happen and that our neighbors are very interested in making it happen.
One
You
of our
know,
neighbors,
Um,
Medford.
Colby, Abbotsford, Dorchester, Medford, they're hopeful that everybody along the 29 corridor that could use rail might be willing to haul to a central location. So like, the idea might be that they build a.
So build a depot here, huh?
Exactly. Right here in town.
Well, a loading, unloading facility, they thought perhaps, closer to Abbotsford or Colby next to the 29 corridor. And then that could potentially be used to service a lot of this body.
These long projects.
No, it hasn't been. It hasn't.
Okay,
And then just a reminder that we have a new website and a new YouTube channel. Check those out. And that's all I got.
So,
okay. Now you're thinking,
I was just thinking the reporter should spend some time on our website. Have you looked at it?
I haven't.
I'm surprised.
Chris gave you a
people
tour.
Look at it. Would Debbie posted for the smokers?
it was just completed, really done.
That's on the Spencerama page.
And
Oh,
So that's specific to Spencer.
the idea is to get more information out. Yeah, well, that's why I'm, have Chris give me a tour of the website.
Tour of the website.
I think it'd be worth your while.
have you done that?
I've looked at it and yeah, there's some. Like any other website. And some things I like, some things I don't, so I'll just pass them on to Chris and as it grows, we'll make changes.
Yeah, it's really good to edit. We've got support from a pretty good company now. It's pretty easy.
Okay,
Okay.
committee report, finance and personnel,
No report.
utilities,
No report.
parks and buildings.
June 28th, 9 o'clock. Work on the park.
Make sure I have my phone. Board worker day, yeah, or work day.
I think Pat was gonna try to be there from Public Works, but this is not something that you wanna like advertise to the public to. I mean, it is your intention that you guys are the one.
No, we just want to get the hazards cleaned out of there. Once we have all that crap pulled up. In a pile, then we can let them know, hey.
Come get the material.
Cut it up, take it out of here.
Yep.
Bring my saw.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring a bunch of chains and the maniacs and
Like it
might bring
leaders,
the
I'll
brush.
gonna
cutter.
walk the
In the tractor.
couple 5 yards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
On Monday.
get that up there and get all that crap, get it pulled out of there so we can, so it opens the stream up.
Health and emergency government,
No.
No report.
economic development, Main Street,
No report.
and streets and sidewalks.
Do we need a meeting?
It'd be nice, yeah.
It's either this week or July. I'm gone the rest of the month.
DOT would very much appreciate an answer. Or their requests, so. This week. Yes, yay or nay, you know, but they would appreciate it.
Oh, 100%.
Well, that's, I asked that question. You gave me the answer. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
That's be-
This week,
We can't post it tomorrow in time
You have to-
unless we hold it at 8 o'clock,
you have to be Thursday.
24 hour notice.
Wednesday,
Wednesday will,
Wednesday. Add. Streets.
6:30?
Who's on that committee?
6 or 6:30?
6:30 would be great.
All right.
Al, Tom and Phil are on the streets committee. So you
This
thought
Wednesday.
you were, and you were.
Huh?
this Wednesday.
Yeah.
This Wednesday.
Say,
I can't be there. I have to go do Flag Day. Legion of Marshall.
yes,
Yeah. So those items will take care of what that committee meeting now.
Those two and the DOT.
Okay. Then in that case, we need a vote to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Right.
Opposed? Motion carried, we are out of here.
what's all this controversy in town about?